this next story, we have Charlotte's Web. It starts off with a little girl named Father, and her father was going to kill a little run pig. She wasn't going to let that happen. So she changed his mind and took care of him for a while, but the more he got bigger, and then she was forced to sell him because he was difficult to have in the place. And then Wilbur the pig met some goose, and that goose told him to book it. And then he did so. All the other animals watched him, making a run for his life. Of course, he was lured in by pig food. Gullible. He wanted to meet friends, but nobody wanted to be his friend. Even a goose just avoids him. He had to keep the eggs warm. He tried many lambs, but no, not even them. Wilbur didn't eat a thing either, and Mr. Zuckerman gave him some medicine. Wilbur did not like that. He had one full mind. He wanted to search for that goose, but nobody was around. Then he met Charlotte. Yup, he finally met her. She shows him what she can do. Well, she wraps up this fly and drinks the blood out of it. He was civil about it, but kind of found it terrifying to hear such a thing come out of her mouth like that. But it was true. She also explains that if it wasn't for spiders, then all the insects in the world might end up taking over the world. In the middle of July, she finally found out how to help him. It's the trick, Mr. Zuckerman. Humans were easy. That's what she said. Avery came into the Zuckerman household, showed him his frog, and then they told him to take that thing out. But then he went out with Fern, and then he saw that spider. He planned on catching it, but then a rotten egg was blasted to his direction, and that farted him away along with Fern. Of course, who did that? Templeton, the rat he had that Wilbur had been looking for. And so Charlotte created a hole in her web, inserted to where she created a sentence on pig. Then whoever was at the barn and saw that, they considered it supernatural, unnatural, weird. And then it drew the attention of all people all over the country. had a dream about being 106 feet long. Charlotte had her web sort of clean for the occasion. Edith suggested buttermilk or Wilbur, but Mr. Zuckerman agreed with her points, saying it was already disagreed with her point, saying it was already clean, but oh well, she already got to work. Charlotte told him that Templeton needed to fetch a new word. And so he did. People said the words some big, terrific, radiant. Yeah, those words. Of course, their pig in the cargo had passed out. So they dumped liquid on him and then woke up, and then he struggled to be loaded into the vehicle. That old sheep told him to struggle to make them think he would be afraid of the fair. Avery wanted to steer jet plane and bump into other people. Fern wanted to win a doll. And then Wilbur was given his food. It was extremely hot for them, so they took a nap for a while. And then they enjoyed more time at the fair. Of course, Charlotte had finally planted 514 eggs. She said that it would be quite sad that she wouldn't be able to see her kids. And then she said this word languish. Wilbur kind of felt unsure if he should ask what language means, so he did anyway. I mean, she's slowing up, slowing down, getting up to her age. She's no longer young anymore. He wanted her. He was so sad he didn't want to lose her. Of course, the other pig, the bigger, unpleasant one, had won prize number 1, but that wasn't over for them. There was a special announcement for Mr. Zuckerman and his pig, a special thing for him. Well, he was more radiant, cleaner looking thanks to the buttermilk. The person on the loudspeaker thought Wilbur was dead because he passed out again. And once he woke up, he was Mr. Zuckerman was given 2 $10 bills and a $5 bill. Wilbur was awarded and felt proud. Charlotte talked about the success of their friendship. She said she could no longer give up. And then Wilbur thought of an idea to do something if Charlotte couldn't go, then he would take her children along with him. Oh yeah, also Templeton came along to the fair because there was tons of food for him. Because that old sheep told him that it was a rat's paradise. So Wilbur asked Templeton to gather the things for him instead, the egg sack for him, so that he may raise her children. University of Minnesota, but he declined because his ambition was to become a writer. In 1921 and 1922, he worked for United Press International and the American Legion News Service before becoming a reporter for the Seattle Times in 1922 and 1923. He spent 2 years as a production assistant and copywriter at Franklin's Advertising Agency. During his time, he had published poems in Franklin P. Adams' newspaper column, The Conning Tower, which had helped several young people achieve success in the 1920s and 1930s. Publish other things. He died 1st October 1985. For some more of his background, in 1929 he married the first fiction publisher of New York, Catherine Sargent Angell. For the rest of his career, stayed with his weekly magazine, but was quickly acclaimed by the essays for the New Yorker. He had witty works containing reflections about city life, politics, literature, and other subjects which showed an affable sense of humor. So this is how he came up with Charlotte's Web. He visited his main farm frequently. He saw a very complex spider web. Took that later. He found an egg bag, a protective covering around a bunch of eggs, and he took it with him. And then that's where you get Charlotte's Web, basing it on his real experience. Same thing with Wilbur. He too was inspired by that farm as well. He's one of those pigs. Of course, almost. The spider from seeing the spider in his farm is build a complex. Where was it? Baby spiders were in the egg set back. There was literally a spider called Charlotte. Oh wait, no. Then he wrote the story